Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today I have the good fortune to be interviewing Mark Vange from Automately. Real results, human-centric automation, instantly modernize your business with secure, transparent AI colleagues that handle real work. I'm excited to dive in. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
A pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's go back in time a little bit. How did Automately and you get started?
Well, I've been in technology for approximately ever. I sold my first game when I was 10, and I had the #1 selling game at Christmas of '89. So I'm a technology repeat offender. 7 exits, this is what I do for fun. And because of my video game background, that includes being CTO at Electronic Arts, I've been doing AI for a very long time. But when AI kind of turned the curve on business uses a couple of years ago, I got really interested in what AI looks like when it's being used in the real world. AI adoption, technology adoption always happens on a human scale. Technology moves fast, adoption moves slow. Getting ahead of that and understanding what adoption will look like in 3, 4, 5 years is kind of where I've always lived. And so we built Automately to kind of, eat our own dog food and understand what working with AI looks like in 3, 4, 5 years when things happen. And, we've learned some valuable lessons, and we're now bringing them to other folks.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the length, depth, and breadth of your career. My son and I are huge EA fans and own many, many of your games. So thank you for that. Now, let's talk about what exactly Automately does.
So what we do is we solve hard AI problems. And as I said, we're focused largely on the cooperative, or sometimes called human-centric AI. So while, of course, there's a room for generative AI, there's room for autonomous agents, I actually believe that most of the value is going to be in what I call the cooperative AI. So, I don't care what brand of wrench you use if you're my plumber. What I care about is that you'll show up at 10 o'clock at night when my heater explodes, right? I think that people buy from people, and people want to rely on those connections, and I don't think that changes in an AI-centric world. It's one thing to be able to make people more productive. It's another to try to replace the people. I don't think people want to buy from bots ultimately. So for me, it's a matter of how do we make people more productive, more useful? How do we make them be more valuable, but not how do we replace them? And the fun part about it is that it also allows us to get bigger, better, faster. So it's very hard to make AIs that are 100% correct, and autonomy, requires 100% accuracy. Whereas when we're using cooperative AI, there's still a person in the loop, so we can get there to 50%, 70%, 90%, and improve your work long before we make it perfect. So we have a whole methodology that I won't go through with you right now in detail, but basically a big step for us is understanding what needs to be done and understanding the metrics. How do we determine that this thing is being done well? And then when we build the AI and we deploy it, we're constantly measuring against those metrics. So we have something called confidence level. And then based on the confidence level, we can drive the appropriate amount of autonomy. And for some things, 50% confidence is great. If you're writing medical prescriptions, maybe not so much, right? So different use cases have different requirements for the confidence level, but it's even at 50%, it might still help the doctor or the pharmacist identify the medication, even if they still rely on their professional experience and education to validate the recommendations, for example.
That makes a lot of sense. Can't you give us a couple examples of specific use cases? Because I know you've got plenty that where you built collaborative AI and kind of what the problem was that it solved and the difference it made in the business.
So the one that most people are familiar with is the Vibe programming kind of opportunity where people are writing code with the help of AI. We do the same thing for CRM. We do the same thing for accounting. We do the same thing for email and marketing and so on. So when we try to understand our messaging, we literally have our own in-house AI. Her name is Autumn. Autumn connects to our CRM and helps us identify leads and follow up on connections and drafts emails for us. And we do that for clients as well. We've got clients that answer the phone to, for example, in the trucking vertical. We're working with a client where they get a lot of calls from truck drivers looking for the next load. 90% of those calls are never going to connect, but they spend hundreds of calls a day to get to those 5 or 10 that actually will generate revenue. Doing the pre-screening for them so they can actually spend their time on the 5 or 10 calls that make them money. We've worked with folks in technical support, in managed services, right? So they have their engineers answering the phones. Nobody likes to answer the "I've lost my password" call. The user doesn't want to wait for you to be able to answer the phone because they just need their password reset. And that password reset provides no opportunity for upsell and no real opportunity for job satisfaction. Whereas if we can deal with the reset password with an AI, that leaves the actual engineers free to solve the hard problems and upsell more licenses, more revenue opportunities.
I love that. Those are great examples. Is there a particular industry that you find the most fascinating, spend the most time in?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you for that. That's like a softball here. So what we actually do is we build the AIs and we try to identify what we call partners, so people in different verticals who understand those industries, those associations, and are selling into those. So we'll build the AI, we'll identify the use cases with their help, and then we will let them sell it and go to market and provide the kind of operations and ongoing support. So we're really out here to try and identify folks that have the entrepreneurial drive and understand the power of AI, but maybe don't know how to build this stuff because they're not, a guy with 30 years of tech background. Um, and we also, as a way to meet those folks, we have actually a free lead gen solution for associations. So basically, we will offer them and their members free lead gen as a way to kind of become introduced and understand their business and vertical a little better and find those partners that can help us then sell into that membership.
That makes amazing sense. I can think of a number of verticals and associations that we should certainly talk about separately.
Sure.
You're helping so many businesses achieve these scale statuses. What's your biggest challenge?
Honestly, our biggest challenge, and this is why we've built the business this way, the technology moves so fast, right? Every day I get 3 emails that basically tell me that I got to rebuild everything from scratch. I'm exaggerating, but it's almost that bad, right? So we've built this architecture that allows us to swap out bits and pieces all the time. But we don't think that we can be a great, pick your vertical company and a great AI company. So this is how we're resolving that big issue, which is the technology is just moving so fast, but adoption happens on a human scale. And so resolving those, resolving the conflict is kind of the challenge for us. And our approach is the solution.
What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about what you're doing that you hear on a regular basis?
I think the greatest one is the mythology of the AI replacement, right? I don't believe that that's actually going to happen. The analogy I always make is going to the gym. I could bring a forklift to the gym and lift any weight, but it's completely missing the point, right? Because you don't go to the gym to get weight lifted. As I said earlier, I think that people will continue to want to buy from people, and people value their relationships. We see this in social media. We see this in the kind of the star culture. People want to have either a real or at least a parasocial relationship with other people. People don't want to have and do not value AI generated content, AI generated experiences, unless it's solving a very specific problem for them, right? So if I'm at an airport because my flight just got canceled, talking to an AI as a way to get my flight rebooked feels great because I don't want to wait in line. But if I'm trying to book um, my dream holiday, I actually still want to talk to a person, even if that person is enabled by the AI solution that we built called Travel Genie, that actually helps travel agents understand and know more about the 1.3 million properties out there that they've only ever been to a tiny little fraction of, but now they can have full information about where's the nearest beach and where's the coolest pizza joint.
That makes a lot of sense. You alluded to the fact that the technology is changing so fast. Given your stature in the industry and what your firm is doing, how do you stay on top of it?
It's a full-time job. I listen to podcasts. I'm on, a lot of alerts. I follow the companies that are kind of movers and shakers. But yeah, it is a challenge, and keeping up with the news is literally what I spend hours a day doing, which is why I can't be the expert on, car sales or cloud communications or mid-sized company in-house lawyer tools, which are all verticals that we are helping people in.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
I I I love understanding how technology changes lives, and with AI in particular, I think that there is an important responsibility for those of us who see a path other than the replacement of people to show the value of that, so that we can all kind of benefit from the added acceleration that AI brings, rather than kind of viewing it as a zero sum game where we all end up, being unemployed because the AI is taken over.
Yes, I don't think AI is going to replace humans, but humans who use AI will replace humans who don't.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's we could be digging dirt by hand, but we use backhoes, right? There's a reason for it. We go bigger, better, faster, and the same thing happens now. If every time you had an idea, you could get it executed by talking to your phone, how much more powerful and how much more effective would you be, right?
I
It's
got
really
a notebook full of them.
exactly. It's literally limited just by your imagination. It doesn't mean that you're out of ideas.
Who is an ideal client for you? Is there a revenue number they need to be at, a number of employees? I mean, how do you determine who's a good fit and who would be that good fit for our folks who are listening or watching?
So, in terms of our kind of end the customers, we tend to go from kind of 50 million to a billion in size, right? Large enough to still write a check to get the work done, but not so big that they have an internal team that thinks that they should and can do it themselves. In terms of the channel partners, it's really we're looking for people who understand an industry, who can visualize a use case. Every time I talk to someone who's entrepreneurial and creative, I find out more about some industry that I knew nothing about, and because they're in it, they can understand all the opportunities and all the ways in which the people who are there day to day in the trenches can be made more effective.
That makes a lot of sense. For our folks who are watching and listening who want to learn more, where is the best place for us to send them?
The best place is to go to automately.com, and I assume this will be shown in the links, but it's got an 8 in the middle of it just to confuse people. And you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn, and I'm the only Mark Vange on the internet, so I'm not hard to find.
Awesome. And it is auto8ly.com. This has been Seth Greene with Mark Vange. Mark, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Seth. Pleasure.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.